Okay, well, in theme with the motoring context of our programme this week, we've come over to Wallop. Wallop, and we've come to see Mike Vardy. Morning, Mike.
Hi, good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well.
You don't get people turn up and ask for petrol at 1 and 6 a gallon, do you?
Just this morning, we had a guy try to fill up, but I said, well, if there's anything you can get out of it, you can have it.
It's gone up, that one. That's a better one, is it? Oh, that's yeah, okay. 2 shillings per gallon.
Right.
Well, it's fantastic. We're at Mike's place. What's it, over Wallop Coachworks?
Over Wallop Coachworks here in Hampshire.
Yeah.
We've been established for some while now here in Over Wallop.
Yeah.
Most of our clientele, in fact, comes from abroad, not from England.
Yeah, it says 1740 up there. That's quite a long time.
I haven't been there that long myself, but the building has been.
Doesn't look that old, does he? No, not at all. So what you got here? What are you going to show us this morning? Obviously you do loads of restoration work and stuff for racing as well, for Vintage Car Club.
We do essentially vintage racing for the VSCC. I'm going to show you a Shirano from 1926, an Italian-built car, which is very rare. I'm going to show you an AC Cobra, which is underbuilt at the moment, a Mark I Shelby.
Fantastic.
We have a Lagonda underbuilt from engine from America. We have a prototype vehicle which we're building from scratch for desert racing, Paris-Dakar, etc.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go at that.
It's a little bit unusual. We have a 1921 Sunbeam.
Yep.
This is also the home of the Sunbeam from 1924, the vintage land speed record car, which is a 4.5 litre twin supercharged car that John Cobb drove.
That's fantastic, yeah. Well, okay, you're going to show us around, so we'll see you in just a minute, because it's starting to rain, but I'm sure it won't rain for much longer. Never does on Town TV, so we'll see you in just a minute. So, Mike, this is a typical example of what you do here, is it? This is an Aston, obviously. Yeah,
this is an Aston Martin DB24. It's got a Tickford body on. It's one of 4 cars. It's currently here for an engine rebuild. It recently expired in France on an Aston Martin rally.
Really?
So it's here ready for preparation for the next season.
You're telling me it's an ex-Graham Hill car? Yeah,
it's ex-Graham Hill car. It's got quite a long history, actually. It's a very famous car. It's one of the rarer Astons that we look after. Yeah. I'm very pleased to have it here.
Yeah, very nice. So Damon would be quite interested in this one, wouldn't he?
One would think so. It's a well sought after vehicle.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. So what are you doing? That's the engine rebuild, is it? Or
purely engine rebuild. Next season it's going for a body rebuild, stripped to bare metal, any repairs required, and back in the paint.
Do you do the upholstery as well here?
Yeah, we do upholstery, we do our own ash frames, space frames, chassis repairs, crash repair, engine, mechanical, gearbox, diff, you name it, we build entire cars in-house.
Absolutely fantastic. How many do you employ here, Mike?
I'm one of 5 here on the floor. We got one in the office.
Really?
Trying to hold it all together. But we generally keep busy all the way through the winter. We do the major rebuilding work. During the summer, obviously, it's the race preparation.
So any parts you can't buy in, old parts, you make them yourself, I presume?
We manufacture almost everything here.
Really?
Yeah, we can build entire cars in-house.
Yeah, we're out at Mark Bailey Racing out at Chibolton, and he builds a lot of his stuff too, obviously. But you've got a few older cars in his. What's this one over here? Steve, point the camera this way. What's this? This looks like it's a very powerful motor car, but what is it?
This is known as more of a nutty machine. This is a La France. It's 1918. Originally it was an American fire engine, fire cars or fire tenders.
Really?
This is purely for fun, for road use. It's 14.5 litre.
Yeah, let's look at the size of that lump in there.
It's 5.5-inch pistons in there, 2.5-inch valves. This is being converted for, as I say, road use. Yeah. And it's on the lines of the 1921 350 horsepower Sunbeam, which is at Bewley. So it'll be quite quick then, this thing, once it's going? Doesn't do a lot of revs, but a lot of road speed. Okay. Lovely brass headlights, though, aren't they beautiful? That's even amazing. Making them go is not the problem, it's stopping them. Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah, look at that wheel. That's incredible, isn't it? Yes, I wouldn't like that to run into me, actually. No. And now this over here, viewers, over here is something quite amazing. This is
a desert machine, and you say this is in the Paris Dakar Rally. We're going to that sort of racing.
Yeah, it's for type of use for Paris Dakar, off-road.
Desert racing, yeah.
Desert racing, yeah. The owner's specification was stump pulling power and 200 miles an hour across the desert.
200 miles an hour across the desert. Well, you need all this.
Bomb-proof. It's
Amazing.
Bomb-proof, roll-proof, you name it. It's another nutty little build that we've taken on.
You sure it's going in a race? You sure it's not for another use?
Well, there you go.
Maybe that's the secret. It looks like a dragster almost with this seat, doesn't it? It's quite. There's Mad Max. Yes, Steve said it looks like Mad Max. I think it does. I think we could do with one of these on town TV, roaring around in that. Be wonderful.
Carries 4 persons, 60 gallons of fuel.
60 gallons of water, I would have thought, if you're out in the desert.
One would think so, yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. What a chunk of machinery. Steve, what do you think about that?
This is quite incredible. I mean, just look at these brakes.
Quite amazing, isn't it? Do you have a horn on it?
That is only going to be to get out of the way.
And next to it here, actually, don't want to take you away from that, but there's a beautiful MG TF. What sort of year is that?
Yeah, I think it's 1955, I think, if... you might have to edit that because I can't remember.
Well, yeah, it could, yeah, it looks, I mean, that's in beautiful condition, isn't it, too? What are you doing to that?
Yeah, this vehicle's here for engine restoration.
Engine restoration, yep.
Engine, gearbox, all the running gear, etc. This belongs to a gentleman now who's moved to Shropshire. He wanted his car up together before he moved into the Midlands.
Yep.
Because obviously he didn't know anybody out there and he wanted his car absolutely 100% before he went.
So how do you cope with so many different sorts of motor car? That's what amazes me. All under one roof. You've got so many different things. Is it just years and years of experience and practice, I suppose?
Basically, it's down to experience. At the end of the day, we don't really worry too much what badge is on the radiator.
Right.
A motor car's a motor car. It's metal. It's moving components. The whole secret of good engineering is tolerances. Once you understand metallurgy and expansions of metal, what kind of piece of machinery is or how many cylinders it has or what names on the radiator is almost irrelevant.
So that was your training, was it? Knowing all about metals and things? That's where you came from?
My original training, I'm a chef by trade.
You're not, are you really?
Yeah.
Really?
But, I thought I'd take a change.
That's incredible. From pots and pans to metal cars, amazing. That's
Absolutely.
incredible.
We run now some of the most prestigious vintage racing motor cars in the country, if not the world, purely on reputation and experience and a bit of luck.
Where's your next race meeting?
We're almost to the end of the season now, actually. I'm just going over in 2 days' time to Germany. I'm looking after 30 Aston Martins.
Are you really?
And there's going to be 70 more German Aston Martins meeting us for a club event. I run the support team and hopefully keeping them going. We've just done a similar event to Le Mans, where we had 110 Aston Martins on the run, 49 of which broke down. So unfortunately I was on my own. I was rather busy, didn't manage to get to see any of the racing.
How do you get time for all this if you're doing all that?
Well, I'd say I've got my staff here. They know what to do.
Yeah, well, that's good.
They hold it all together when I'm not here.
So what's this here then, Mike?
Right, here we have a Lagonda. This has come from the States. It's known as an LG45 engine, most of which is not in there at the moment. It's spread around the workshop. This was recently rebuilt, actually, in the States. Full engine rebuild. It didn't cover much more than 2,500 miles and expired completely. It's completely full of scrap now, the crankcase.
Oh dear, well, that's a bit of a shame.
Which is rather unfortunate, but it's come over now. Have a sort out, start again.
We had an American driver at Thruxton, as you've seen earlier in the show. Blew his engine up last week, testing for Formula 3, so the Americans got a lot to answer for.
These things happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's good business for us. It's nice to know that they find us across the Atlantic.
Yeah. What sort of value would you put on this Lagonda? I mean, I'm sure the viewers like to know the sort of cost and probably the upkeep as well if you're going to own something like this.
The upkeep quite often, especially with vintage motor racing, is the larger part of owning the car. Yeah. A value of a car like this is probably between 45 and 50,000.
Is it really?
According to condition. and the market, whether the sun's out or not.
Yeah. But then the upkeep, as you say, is obviously an expensive item if you go around blowing engines up.
It is quite expensive. I mean, we do quite a lot of Lagondas and Invictas here. You can spend up to £10,000 building just the engine for a vehicle like this.
Oof. It's more than the cost of my Peugeot. Right, mate, you've got a beautiful building here, actually, and
yeah, that's all part of the image of the vintage cars. The owners like to come here and see their vehicles, shall we say, in the correct position.
I'd imagine the Americans would love it.
Yeah, we get lots of comments.
You also get comments about the name over Wallop as well. Do you get a few remarks about that?
We have a bit of bother on the phone. We quite often have to spell it. It's a little bit boring. But,
yeah. It's a great location. Do you get many people from the Salisbury direction as well coming in?
Yeah, all over, literally worldwide.
Really?
Yeah,
it's great to have that sort of reputation, isn't it?
We have customers as far as India.
Do you?
A lot from Norway, to America.
Well, they ship them over to you?
Yeah, the cars are shipped here and we put them right, road test them, shake them down and send them back.
It's fascinating. With a bill. What's this one here? This is the...
Right, here we have a 1926, this is a Sciarano, a very rare car. It's Italian built. It was a very elite group of vehicle builders in Italy that made an absolute beautiful car, but they were subsequently bought out by Fiat.
Right.
They obviously didn't like the competition, walked in and bought out the workforce, and this is one of the end results of what they did.
So what year is this one?
1926, this
1926, so it's worth a few pennies?
Yes, yeah. So I think the owner's very, very proud of this car, and rightly so.
Yeah.
It's beautifully engineered, all the castings, everything throughout the car is probably 20 years ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It still looks like a classic vintage car.
Isn't it? Absolutely immaculate.
One of the first vehicles ever to come out with telescopic shock absorbers on the front, which were correct.
Really? Oh, here, right. Yeah. That's
very unusual.
as you said, it is way ahead of its time, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Yeah. The engineering of it's absolutely superb. It's a four-cylinder vehicle. Nice touring, nice day out.
Yeah.
What we call a picnic car.
Yeah. And you've got some lovely old number plates. Tell me, look at that. YR5883. That's great, isn't it?
Yeah. All period number plates on all the vehicles here.
And a temperature gauge up here, look. Look at this. Normal, cool and boiling. And freezing even.
And freezing even, yeah. I think once it gets to that stage, it also gets a bit expensive.
Got a lovely old Fraser Nash over here. Another nice vintage number plate as well.
It's known as a chain gang Nash. Locally owned, much used and loved. It's a vehicle very, very quick for its age. It's a very sought after car in the VSEC. It's known as a chain gang. Very good for trialling, etc.
Is it possible to get insurance on these if you're going to use it for that sort of stuff, or is it difficult?
Insurance is not a problem. There are specialised companies, one in particular, that cover all my business needs very adequately. It's a case of speaking to the right people.
Got to be in the know.
Absolutely.
You know the right man. And we have a Sunbeam here, look. Beautiful old Sunbeam. Another vintage plate, SG5034. That's a lovely old Sunbeam.
Yeah, it's just come out of the barn today, hence it's rather dusty, etc. It's requiring some valve work, some engine work. This car was restored 4 or 5 years ago, but it's not had a great deal of use. It's been put away and we've just decided to get it out.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Got the hood up today because it's spotting with rain, but
shortly going to rain.
It would have been lovely back in August, rushing around in that, wouldn't it?
Yes. Same thing again, another picnic car. Absolute
Beautiful.
Delight to drive, long wheelbase, very comfortable. 1921 vehicle with 1921 refinements.
It's fantastic. It really is lovely. What do we have over there?
We have an Elvis. This is a TF21.
That's ALVIS, isn't it?
Yep.
EL.
Yeah, not Elvis, Alvis.
Yeah.
It's a drop head,
Yeah.
twin headlight model.
Yeah.
This was not restored by us, but it's owned locally. Much loved car, much used. Very comfortable ride. It was a mark that was underestimated.
It was.
really.
I can remember back in the early 70s, and I was offered one of these in dark green for £550, and I always wish I'd bought it, and I never did.
Yeah, I think maybe there'd been a good buy for that money if you'd kept it.
Yeah.
They fetch fairly good money now.
Yeah.
Very well sought after. I mean, this car spends a bit of time here in the showroom,
Yeah.
and it's quite often I'm asked whether it could be purchased or not.
Mm.
But the owner's going to hang on to it. It's shortly going to Monte Carlo.
Very nice too. What a nice place for it to be. Absolutely lovely.
Well, this lump of metal here is insured at this time for £750,000.
£750,000. It's truth. We better move it before this programme goes out.
Yeah, it's a very good idea. The rest of the cam gear, superchargers, etc. for this vehicle is in the workshop.
Yeah.
We had a little accident off at Nürburgring last year where it ended up in a gravel pit. Sucked up a load of water through the superchargers, munched all the stones through every cylinder and fired it out the exhaust pipe.
So what's the history of this lump of metal?
Right, well this lump of metal here belongs to the Sunbeam Tiger. It's the Landsby record car from 1924.
1924?
Famous drivers like Seagrave, John Cobb, Kaylee Guinness, etc.
Let me just walk around here and have a look at it. I've got to touch this. There we are. £750,000. What makes it so expensive? It's rarity, I guess.
The rarity value is one of two vehicles. The Tiger and the Tiger-S were both the 12-cylinder cars, and the Cub, which is presently at Bewley in the museum. They were the three team cars around the year of 1924 that Sunbeam were racing at the time.
That's absolutely beautiful. Oh, wonderful. And what's this? You've got so much around here. This is an AC Cobra, isn't it?
Right, this is an AC Cobra. It is a Shelby Cobra. This was a direct replacement, this vehicle, for a car that we were racing a few years ago on the Isle of Man in the Manx Classic. Came across the finishing line, spun it and hit the church graveyard wall at 120 mile an hour.
Oh dear.
And destroyed it. So this is a direct replacement. We've built the body here. It's all in aluminium, wheeled from flat sheet. We made the space frame. All the rest of the vehicle is now restored in the workshop. It's awaiting putting back together, basically.
I must admit, you do everything here. This is quite incredible. Does it still keep the same chassis number when it destroys itself or not?
Yeah, this is still considered to be an original car because it's a direct replacement of the other car. There are part components in it that still house the original chassis numbers. So anything that wasn't bent has been reused in the vehicle. So as I say, it is a direct replacement, and all the other parts have been destroyed, all of which have been recorded, the destruction of. So we haven't actually produced a kit car, although it's a little bit debatable what's original, what isn't.
Well, I was going to ask you that, but obviously, that's wonderful. Who we got here? Who's this here?
Right, this is Mark.
Mark, what are you doing? I've been looking around for these 11 people, or how many you said, and they all seem to be hiding. Every time you point the camera in somebody's direction, they run off. But this is Mark.
Yeah, I'm Mark.
So what are you doing here?
I do the bodywork and all the paintwork.
Was that yours? Were you responsible for that?
Yes, yes.
How long did that take?
Probably about 2 months, going through all the repair stages, primer stages. Everything's done by hand.
Really? Must be fascinating to be able to work on something like that.
It is, yes.
Yeah. How long have you been here now?
Just over 2 years.
Yeah?
I did crash repair before, and this is far more interesting. Yeah.
What does he treat you like? All right? Is he all right? Is he a good boss?
He's a good boss. Yeah, yeah.
Don't say it too loud. But where do you live anyway, Mark?
I live in Salisbury.
Do you?
Yeah.
Look into that lens and say hello to all the Salisbury viewers.
Hello, Salisbury viewers.
Okay. Right. Wonderful. Thanks very much. Okay. Well, I suppose it's always been my dream to own one of these things, Steve. Unfortunately, the radiator grille's detached, but look, there's a beautiful silver lady, and that is a lovely Rolls-Royce radiator grille. But I suppose we'd better go and try and find the rest of the car, to see what condition it's in. If this is laid up against your garage wall, goodness knows what the car looks like. Well, that's where it goes. That's where the radiator grill goes. Mike, what's this?
This is a Rolls. It's a Silver Cloud 3, in rather sad condition at the moment.
How did it get like this? Was it found in a field or something?
No, this has been used recently by a local man. Been in the family for many years.
Yeah.
It's had various small repairs, but now it's come the time where it requires some serious attention.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
The corrosion basically throughout the car is extensive, so we're cutting it out, remanufacturing all the panels, putting it back together, and we're going to return it to its former glory.
Wonderful. What sort of year would this be? It's early 70s or?
No, this is a 50s vehicle.
50s?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Because it's still got that lovely shape, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's quite an unusual body on this.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. And they're going to keep the same colour?
No, it's actually going to go into a different colour, this vehicle. White's one of those colours that does not show the shapes of the vehicle. I mean, it's got some nice lines in the vehicle. The darker the car, the better the lines are shown and the better the reflections, etc. So if you own a classic car these days, I mean, they just look nice in dark blues or burgundies or rolls. They're suited to it.
I presume you do all the spraying here as well?
Yeah, we've got our full cost-regulated paint shop.
Really?
All swinging, dancing makes the tea.
I can look around the back of this because it's long, isn't it?
It is a big vehicle, yes. But soon be returned to its former glory.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to really smash it. I won't ask how much this is going to cost because obviously it's a local owner, but quite considerable, I would have thought.
Quite an expensive job, but it doesn't have to be out hand.
No.
It's very difficult when you've got everybody's always looking these days at the market values of these vehicles, and quite often the restoration costs can exceed the market value. I've seen cases where it's almost twice to restore a vehicle than its actual market value.
But if you point down there, Steve, you'll see some of the rust that's got into this vehicle, isn't it?
Yeah, we're only halfway through this. We've done one side of the vehicle so far. What you're looking at now is the next phase.
Yeah, that's. So how long will it take to do this?
There's about another 3 to 4 weeks metalwork left in this vehicle. Probably 2 weeks to do all the paint preparation, paint it, get it back looking nice, and then you're into 3 or 4 weeks of assembly. Starting with the glass and the interior, which we're also going to restore. It's going to be reupholstered. All the bright work, chrome, etc., and put it back together.
That's amazing. One last thing before we go. I saw something lurking in your garage in there with a very nice number plate, 911 on it. Is that one of yours?
Porsche, no. Another gentleman from Winchester owns that car.
So you actually do modern ones as well? But just let the viewers know that do modern stuff here as well. So
yeah, all modern services. We do all makes basically.
Yeah.
It helps to produce the cash flow to not only run the building but to put the money into the cars to restore them.
It must be a great industry to be involved in. You obviously love it, else you wouldn't be doing it.
There is a lot of. It's very pleasing. There's a lot of rewards at the end of the day. Like anything done well, it's hard. You've got to think about it.
Yeah.
Think about what you're doing. You run into all kinds of problems, corrosion being the biggest one normally.
Yeah.
Fatigues and cracks in old pieces of metal is a constant nightmare.
A challenge, I think, isn't it?
It is a challenge. There's new, technology coming along all the time to overcome these problems. But at the end of the day, they're very old pieces of metal. They get very tired. They've got hot and cold many times. This is where the cracks come from, and it's all part of engineering. Is overcoming these problems the cheapest and the best way possible.
Yeah.
Try and make the vehicles last longer.
Anyway, prefer this to being a chef, I guess.
Chefing is out of it at the moment. Haven't got time to cook. Haven't got time to eat.
Well, there we are, viewers. It's been a fantastic trip round over Wallop Coachworks. So I'm sure if you want to come down and have a look at some of the things that Mike does, come down and give him a ring. What's your telephone number, Mike?
It's 01264, which is Andover, 781-803.
781-803, that's an Andover number.
Everybody's always welcome. We show it around. There's always a cup of tea, etc.
So there we are, on the Salisbury Road out of Andover. So come down and see Mike Vardy and his team. Absolutely amazing trip we've had this morning. So thanks for watching.